Okay, so let's talk about something that so many of us feel, but we just can't quite put our finger on. It's that constant low-level hum of tension in our relationships, right? That little voice that's always telling you something's about to go wrong. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and really look at the architecture of anxious attachment. But before we go anywhere else, I need you to hear this. Really hear it. You are not too much. Just let that land for a second. Because every single thing we're about to talk about is built on that one fundamental truth. You see, what you're feeling, it's not a flaw in your personality. It's not who you are at your core. It's a pattern. The best way to think about it is like an old piece of software, a program that got installed on your internal computer, your nervous system, a long, long time ago, and it's just been running in the background ever since. And because that program is running, you've probably been hit with these labels before, maybe from other people, or maybe even worse, from that critic inside your own head. Too needy, too emotional, too clingy. And you know what? Every one of those labels just completely misses the point. They're describing a symptom, but they have no idea what the cause is. So here's the most important thing to get. Your brain is not broken. It's not being irrational or overreacting. It is doing exactly, and I mean exactly, what it was trained to do. Anxious attachment isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually this incredibly intelligent survival strategy that your brain came up with to keep you safe. So, okay, if it's a program, where did it even come from? To really get why you feel this way today, we actually have to travel back in time. We've got to go back to the very beginning to see how this whole system was built in the first place. I want you to just picture a tiny child's brain for a second. It's not learning algebra or history. Nope. It's focused on one single all-important question, and it's learning the answer through thousands of tiny little moments. Is connection safe? Is love reliable? Can I actually relax here? And this is where things can go in two very different directions. So on one path, a child gets consistent care. They cry, someone comes, they're scared, they get comfort. Their nervous system learns, okay, love is stable. I am safe. But on the other path, the care is inconsistent. It's not necessarily bad or unloving, just unpredictable. Sometimes it's warm and close, other times it's distant. And that child's brain learns a totally different lesson. Whoa, I have to be vigilant. I have to pay attention if I want to stay connected. And honestly, this is a brilliant adaptation. Your little nervous system became hyper-aware. It learned to scan for the tiniest shifts in mood, to anticipate what people needed, and to hold on tight to connection whenever it was there. This wasn't a conscious choice. It was pure survival. But here's the kicker. That survival program, it never got an update. It never got the memo that the danger is over. So here you are, as an adult, and that same exact pattern is still running automatically in the background of your relationships. Your system is still scanning for danger, even when you're perfectly safe. So, what does this old programming actually feel like today in your adult life? You know, a lot of people think it's about big, dramatic behaviors. But honestly, the most important signs are the ones no one else can see. They're all happening inside. And it usually plays out in this exhausting four-stage cycle. First, there's hypervigilance. You're basically detective, constantly scanning for clues that something is wrong. A weird tone of voice, a text that took too long. That anxiety builds and leads to step 2, reassurance seeking. You're asking, are we okay? You're testing the connection, trying to get that little hit of relief. But it never lasts. And when the anxiety gets unbearable, you might jump to step 3, protest behavior. This is when you might start a little fight or get distant, not to push them away, but secretly hoping they'll chase after you and pull you close. And then comes the last stage, rumination. Oh, the rumination. Just replaying conversations and events over and over and over in your head, desperately trying to find some certainty that just isn't there. And this really gets to the heart of it all. You can spend years, decades even, thinking the problem is your partner, or the situation, or something wrong with you. But the real problem, the thing that's making you so tired and scared, it's the pattern itself. It's all happening on the inside. Now, this brings us to what is, for my money, the most confusing, mind-bending part of this whole thing. If it's so painful, why on earth can it feel so much like passionate, intense, can't live without you love? Well, this is what we call the great deception of anxious attachment. The key word you need to know here is activation. Activation is that jolt you feel when your attachment system gets triggered by uncertainty. Your heart starts pounding, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't think about anything else. It feels like you're falling madly in love. But what you're really feeling is that old survival program going into overdrive, and your brain makes a huge mistake. It confuses the intense anxiety of uncertainty with the intensity of passion. So, what's happening is your brain has literally been wired to associate that up and down roller coaster feeling of unpredictable connection with love. And so you end up confusing anxiety with attraction. You mistake all that chaos and instability for real, deep intensity. And that right there is what keeps so many of us trapped in the cycle. And as you can imagine, living inside this pattern year after year, it comes with a really high price. Over time, it leads to this slow, quiet, almost invisible process of self-abandonment. So here's what that looks like. Your focus, your energy, it all just shifts over to the other person. What are they feeling? What do they need? You become a world-class expert at adjusting yourself to keep their mood stable. And in that process, you start pushing your own needs, your own desires further and further down, until one day your whole identity is just the relationship. And that's why, if it ends, it doesn't just feel like a breakup, it feels like you've completely disappeared. Okay, that was the problem. And I know, it's a lot, it's heavy. But I promise you, the story does not end there. So now, let's talk about the path forward. And it's all about one thing: becoming your own safe place. This is the most hopeful, incredible truth in all of this. Your brain is not set in stone. It's changeable. And because your brain learned this pattern, it absolutely has the power to unlearn it and to build a new one. This is not a life sentence, not even close. And the goal here, it's not to stop caring or to build walls around your heart. The real goal is to build a foundation of safety and consistency inside of yourself. It's about learning, maybe for the first time, how to give yourself that deep reassurance you've been so desperately trying to get from other people. It's about getting to a place where your sense of safety no longer depends completely on someone else's mood that day. And when you start doing that work, when you start building that internal safety, everything starts to shift. That constant buzz of anxiety, it starts to soften. That frantic sense of urgency, it just fades. And you start to feel something that might feel brand new. You feel peace. So look, if there is only one thing you walk away with today, let it be this. The next time you feel that wave of anxiety rise up, I want you to try and see it differently. It is not proof that you are broken. It's not proof that you're flawed or too much. It is the absolute, undeniable proof that you are a survivor. It's the echo of a brilliant system that did whatever it had to do to keep you safe. And knowing that, really knowing that, that's the first step to finally feeling free.